Welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us here on a Mexican Crossing Lines with your host, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You're listening to 88.1 FM KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. You can also listen to all of our past shows by going to kpppfm.com. Tonight, my show will focus on the group No More Deaths. The trial for Scott Warren, No More Deaths volunteer, began today. All of the pseudo-activists that are supporting the caravan are talking about it and doing everything that they can to protect this group, and in particular to protect this man, Steve Warren. And we're going to talk about that because it's very interesting how there is Scott Warren, how much protection there is for Scott Warren and for no more deaths. We will also be talking about who exactly is sharing no more deaths and how the connections between the shelters, which are in Mexico that I told you about, that activists have been going to and helping escort asylum seekers to the border from. These shelters in Mexico are run by Irineo Mujica of Pueblos Sin Fronteras. We know this group has been under investigation for human trafficking and human smuggling. That's what they're being investigated for. And it appears that No More Deaths volunteers are working closely to them. We also learned that the Tohono O'odham tribe, whose reservation is right there, and that has a population of impoverished people on its reservation that have had a lot of interaction with the Sonora cartel and have had a lot of law enforcement run-ins for their involvement in human smuggling and trafficking. And now we have this perfect storm, this trifecta of a No More Deaths organization working with Pueblos Sin Fronteras shelters in the territory of the Sonora drug cartel, where trafficking is happening all the time. So for me, it is a countdown, but also I am watching to see who's talking about Scott Warren and what their buy-in is to do that. And I'm going to be exposing to you how many of these volunteers, pseudo-activists are okay with breaking the law. They're okay with committing fraud against the United States government. The ends in their mind justify the means. Never mind that they have to make up both the means and the ends. They don't care about that. We'll talk about an interview that Oscar El Blue Ramirez in Tijuana did with one of these activists and how he admitted that in his mind, it's totally okay to commit fraud. And I'll show you that that is actually happening in Mexico. We've brought you evidence of the fact that fake marriages, fake marriage certificates, and documentation are being created and given to lawyers from groups like Al Otro Lado in order for people to claim asylum, to use for their asylum claims. We've shown you that they are practicing law without a license in Mexico, even though they said they're not. We've shown you that these activists aren't afraid to break the law. And I'm going to show you more evidence of how that is still going on in Mexico. and how these volunteers, I'm saying that in air quotes because nobody works for free. There is no free lunch. Come on now. You know they're getting funded somehow. They don't want to tell you because a lot of it involves GoFraudMe's and Venmos and CashMe's and all these ways in which we now have to launder money so that these folks that are part of a international criminal smuggling operation don't have to account for what they're doing. But they are funding and they're raising money for those who break the law. I will show you how one lawyer named Matt Cameron has been doing just that. These unscrupulous lawyers groups are fundraising and protecting those who break the law. If you break the law, we got you, boo. We'll take care of you. We'll fund you. Don't worry. I'm also going to show you the horrible effects of that are going on in Mexico. Like what I told you is happening in Nuevo León, where they have experienced near the shelter where all of these migrants are coming, thefts, public defecation, urination, rape, forcing residents to sell their homes. All of that will be on tonight's show. Plus, we're going to talk about all of the Standing Rock connected phonies, pseudo activists that have been connecting themselves, supporting, and the Facebook pages that they're connected to that have been supporting No More Deaths. Why are they connecting themselves to these groups? Because they have always been part of this greater border support network. And we're getting to see it more clearly. And they are putting themselves tighter and tighter into the circle of those who are involved in this smuggling operation. The Intercept breaks it down in one of their recent articles where they're talking about the lack of Fourth Amendment rights at the border. I showed you this article before, but I'm going to show you how many of their media allies are tying them all together, and they themselves are tying each other to this ring, sharing their support for each other's activities and for all of these journalists and activists and lawyers groups who they claim are merely doing human rights work and are being intimidated by the U.S. government, intimidated by Department of Homeland Security, Border Patrol, Mexican authorities, Interpol, because as you know, all of those folks are involved. And increasingly, those folks have been getting a lot of congressional support. We've had Jeff Merkley and Blumenthal and Grassley and Udall and Warren, and now Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is weighing in too on a dude bro named Nate Abaurrea. We'll talk about his tweets and why they're so special to AOC. All on tonight's show, A Mexican Crossing Lines. But first, I want to thank all of you who have been helping me research more about these groups, with these organizations, the places and the faces, and for sending me so much information. I wish I could get to all of it as I do every coming show, because I know many of you put a lot of sweat and hard work into the research that you send to me. Obviously, we try to do the best that we can. There are only 2-hour shows. Sometimes we go a little bit over that. We try to keep them to 2 hours. We have a lot of information in tonight's show. And of course, I want to thank all of you for supporting our work. Duke, you've been doing some grant writing to help us hopefully be able to travel to the border again, because folks really need to hear the news brought to you by someone that doesn't just speak Spanish fluently, but speaks English fluently. A Mexican Crossing Lines can do that, because not only do I know both sides of the border, both languages perfectly. I understand the politics on both sides of the fence. So if you can, help us with a donation, a tax deductible, for a non-commercial station. Duke, how can they support our work?
Yeah, I'd like to thank people that have contributed. You're making things work well in our station. Remember, we're a nonprofit, low-power FM radio station broadcasting in Fargo-Moorhead. It's Minnesota and North Dakota. And thank you for your donations and your support. It's what keeps us going. We are a bona fide nonprofit, and every contribution is tax deductible. Thank you for all the people who have donated. We have a green screen thing going on now because of your donations. I got my mic working better, just for my own finesse. But, everything we can do to help build the station, and you're part of that, the people that are listening. Now, if you want to get a hold of us, many of you are getting a hold of us through Facebook. You can find us on Facebook at 88.1 FM Fargo-Moorhead. We also have two other Facebook sites. It's the People's Press Project and Mexi-Can. And if you want to give us a call and leave a voicemail for us on our message line, it is 701-566-0917. Again, that number is 701-566-0917. Now, if you want to tweet us, go to @media_PPP. If you want to email, Cindy at kpppfm.com, or you can email me, Duke at kpppfm.com. Also go to kpppfm.com. That's our main website where we put all of our uploads, our video uploads, and our audio files, and we take many of these shows, break them down into arable pieces that we play in Fargo-Moorhead. If you go to kpppfm.com, go to kpppfm.com/donate, make a donation. If you do, please do. I want to mention your name on the air. And locally, I have a piece for donations of the week. So your name would go on the air. It would be heard by thousands and thousands of people. Close to 200,000 people can actually listen to us. And we'll announce it on our Facebook Live, too. So please make a donation. We'd like to honor you on our station, show that you're a contributor and a supporter of our organization. And that would be great. Remember, they're tax deductible. Just go to kpppfm.com/donate. And also, when you're there, look at our videos that we have on the website. And if you want to go to YouTube, go to Duke 1517 or Duke Gomez-Schempp. Duke 1517 is the name of the channel. Please subscribe, because once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're going to try some new stuff on Facebook. We've done a few Facebook Lives, but we want to really ramp that up to a little bit more there and create a whole new audience as well as our Facebook audience. So go to Duke 1517 on Facebook and please subscribe. We've got about 180 some more people we need to reach 1,000. So we'd really appreciate that. And again, thank all of you for your support, for your continued support. Any support is welcome, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
And let's jump right into the show. Focused on the group No More Deaths. I wanted to start off with some comments from our last show.
Oh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How the people that are activists and involved in this border support network nonsense love to comment and tone police what I'm saying, thought police what I'm talking about to my audience in order to deflect from their own negative activities. In the comment or the post made by Josie Denorio Tewa, they say this woman. So this woman, they're speaking of me. Son Gomez, and of course, this woman's son comes and of course defends his mom. They're talking about Nemo. But she's calling someone a pendeja. She's Mexican, and I have friends. And some may use it, but some don't. Because they have stated themselves, which is not appropriate, is a foul word demeaning a woman or a man. So she is talking about how she is exposing people, but I'm shake my head. why not expose those cartels who are human traffickers from the inside of the border, who are killing children from Chiapas? And I say, and I got to say this, keep each other in prayer. It is greatly needed. And then in all caps, stop bashing our people. If you want to expose them, do it the right way. Show proof, have evidence, because I've always been asked to show proof, shake my head. So now I am asking the same. Well, you obviously haven't watched my shows. And no, that's not what pendeja means, pendeja. Let me tell you what pendeja means, pendeja. It means stupid. And when someone does or says something that is stupid, that you think is stupid, it is perfectly okay for you to use it. By the way, Juan Mancias used the word in referring to the border wall. Is it okay for the leader of the Carrizo-Comecrudo tribe that is leading your camps down there, or do you not have any criticism for him? Do you not have criticism for the people that are currently working with the shelters that are in cartel territory? Did you not see my programs in their entirety where I show proof of everything that I speak of, pendeja? Obviously not. But look, here's Juan Mancias using the word pendeja. That's Juan Mancias of the Carrizo-Comecrudo tribe. Oh, but Josie Tenorio, like, stop talking about our people. Stop talking about, hey, I'm exposing the truth about people that are doing things connected to criminality, supporting things that are criminal. And I believe that it is my duty as an American. It is my right as a Mexican. It is my forte as a reporter and as a journalist. And so I'm going to keep doing me, okay? You keep doing you. But don't come here and tell me that I can't use the word because it is inappropriate and it is offensive to women and to men. It's a word. The word is stupid. And if the saco fits, wear it, If it fits. By the way, I don't know why people are so, they're nitpicking at my use of the word stupid and referring to someone, and I believe it was Vanessa Dundon that I was talking about, who can't string a sentence together. She is a pendeja. What you want me to say? The things that she was saying were hella stupid. You got to call it what it is. If it's stupid, if it's illegal, I think that of all of the things that you could say about someone's behavior, stupid is probably one of the mildest.
Yep, I agree.
So here is Juan Mancias. I just want to show you the hypocrisy of these people for a minute, because they're like, don't use this word. Let's go to number 1. Or maybe they're flipped around. Yeah, this is them. Juan says, stop la pendejada. Build a wall on the Canadian border. No more racist colonizers. What are they talking about? Pueblo sin fronteras. But of course. And he's reposting a guy named Ruben Arevalo who's talking about the group. And he's explaining an event with the caravan. I think you got the... Excuse me. This is from April 30th in 2018 in San Diego, where they're talking about the caravan and the people coming with Pueblos Sin Fronteras, the journey to Turtle Island, the Mexica Empire, Trump's border wall, blah, blah, blah. If you scroll down, you'll see that the way in which this is being framed, again, is to make the people that are coming to the United States and in an undocumented fashion in an illegal fashion, they're ancestors of the Native American people like Juan Mancias. And we're supposed to receive them as ancestors. And if you look at the second part of this post, you may notice something, Duke. This is part of the action that took place. It says the condor and the eagle prophecy. Vomit, vomit, vomit. Hashtag Pueblos Sin Fronteras. Hashtag originals. Hashtag caravan. Hashtag not refugees. And what is that? That is the action that took place at the border where a bunch of the clergy got arrested. You recognize that dog?
Oh, yeah.
Whose dog is that?
Lolly Bees.
That is Lolly B. So, of course, we know, as I have told you, that the people in Tijuana that are working hand in glove with Al Otro Lado lawyers, like Lolly B and Jake Lee Harris, although Jake Lee Harris is now in Uganda, these activists that were giving out bad legal advice without a license in Mexico to the migrants, encouraging them to file for asylum that they don't qualify for, encouraging people to become sponsors without really explaining what all is involved. They're at an event at the border that is being shared by Juan Mancias, one of the people that is creating these camps along the border with the excuse that they're there to help support the caravans, right? They're helping support a smuggling operation is what they're helping support. And there's Lolly B's dog at the event. Here's another one of Juan Mancias's posts where he is sharing a post about the Tohono Indians. I want you to listen to the language of these folks. This is what the Telegraph News quoted this Tohono O'odham tribal, I believe he's a tribal chairman, as saying, just like Juan Mancias, okay? His equivalent, but in the Tohono O'odham. He says, lay one brick of the border wall and it will be the last of the Indian wars. Native Americans warn Trump. And they're quoting him in this video, and it says, as I said, in the spirit of the elders, over my dead body would the U.S. government create a wall. So that's a tall order. You're going to have to kill me in order to build the border wall, says the chief of the Tohono O'odham tribe. And who's sharing these sentiments? The other tribe with the Border Support Network. The other tribe is the Carrizo-Comecrudo tribe. And here is Juan Mancias sharing a poem on March 10 of 2018. This poem, by the way, was shared by none other than adopted billionaire heiress Marianne Thompson Frank of that petroleum Citgo wealth of the 7-Eleven fortune. The one that helped to fund the Young Turks, which in turn funded Justice Democrats like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to go into Congress, and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. Yes, why yes, that very same, very rich, billionaire, connected woman, privileged, connected woman, Marianne Thompson Frank, is she the one who posted this poem by Juan Mancias. And in it, he says, can you hear, by Juan Mancias, my relatives, can you hear? I ask you not to fear. My relatives, do you feel the leer and the lack of joy and cheer? My relatives, the ancestors, are here, as close as you and I, very near. That whispering wind in your ear is as loud as a wind Shai. Ancestors being excavated in gear. being murdered once again in jeer, with artifact robbing with sneer, with constant bias and fleer. My relatives, I can hear that the wall is ethnic cleansing is clear, harming ocelots, horned toads, and deer, putting real humans of color to the rear. A presidential baby wine, a seer, crying for his ungodly weir. My grandson, no wall, you hear. I held you and the old ones dear. My relatives, I will die here. My ancestors will not disappear. So, I think you can tell a lot from the way someone poems, can't you?
Yes.
Huh. Anyway, that was all to tell you he's going to die.
Yeah.
He's going to lay down his life, just like the chief of the Tohono O'odham tribe. Why? Well, so that they don't build that border wall, so that they can continue to resist the border wall. When did people on the left, when did Democrats, when did progressives ever give a rip about whether or not the border wall was there, or got built, or got funded, or got repaired? I don't remember. These people are doing something new, and it is not right. It is not okay. The fact that they are all right, that they are okay with fraud, with criminality, with breaking the law, with doing things, that the ends justify the means, no matter what they may be, that should disturb you. It does me. It does Mexicans. It does them. Let me show you a clip of a video. This is Oscar El Blue Ramirez from Border Network News. This is just a clip of an interview that he did. I do highly recommend you watch the whole thing, because in addition to you being able to witness for yourself how these activists do not care about breaking the law, you will see with the arrogance with which he speaks to a Mexican native of Tijuana, born and raised there. Because these activists, they feel that they can commit lateral oppression, lateral violence against Mexicans. If you're so hell bent on protecting these poor migrant people of color, why are you doing it at the expense of Mexico and Mexicans? You imperialist hypocrite. Because that's what they're doing, folks. That's what I think. I know that's how Oscar feels. Why don't you watch this video and tell me what you think of this man named Justice?
How you guys doing? Nice to meet you guys.
Who are you?
I'm a journalist from here, from Tijuana. Where you guys coming from?
I come from San Luis Obispo, California.
Oh yes. Oh okay. Are you helping, in such a way the immigrants? Are you with a law firm?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're trying. We're helping some of the Haitians.
Yes.
This is my son. He's a filmmaker.
Hi,
He's a
how you doing?
reporter from Mexico.
Who are you working with? Border Network News?
Yes, that's it.
Heard you guys have a pretty right angle slant towards everything that's going here.
Right angle.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
like, right.
How do you feel
Right.
about this?
How do I feel about it?
Yeah.
Do you want my actual opinion?
Yes,
about
I do. If you're going to film me, I want your actual opinion,
Okay,
definitely.
yeah, okay. First of all, Article 6 and Article 7 of the Constitution states, as a Mexican citizen, that I can film and that I can.
I don't have any problem with that.
Just because.
I just want to know what your personal opinion is if you're filming me and my mother and my family.
No,
that's
I
all.
didn't know that it was your mother, first of all. Second of all,
Doesn't matter.
I don't have, no, yes. Second of all, you're in my country, you're in my city.
No, I was just asking you your
Yes,
personal
yeah,
opinion about
because
this.
I see that you're getting a little bit mad.
I'm not mad.
So I'm just, I'm just asking them what they're doing
I'm
over
actually
here.
not mad at all.
Second of all, what is my angle of this?
I'm just curious what your opinion is.
We
of
were
this.
having a conversation over there, and I told you this is a crisis that needs to be resolved.
Yeah, I agree with
And
you.
it is an invasion on our country and Mexico.
Sure.
And it is an invasion on the sovereignty of the United States.
Okay.
That is my point of view.
Okay, cool.
It's respectful.
It's an
and
invasion?
It is an invasion.
They don't
yes.
have guns or anything, though.
No, but it's 60 million in poverty in Mexico, 28 million in critical condition that we have, and 68 million without medical care. We need to take care of our country first instead of taking care of Central America, South America, Africa, Asia, and the Midwest.
So in what ways do you feel resources are being diverted from Mexico to help these people?
Our government is taking care of all these people.
Where?
The shelters in Chiapas and all the routes that they're getting all the way to the borders. Also in Tijuana, we already provided more than 3 shelters over here. And we're spending millions and millions of pesos when you can go over this canal and go and see all the deported Mexicans that they're not getting taken care of. So I believe that there's priorities in every country. And in my country has been suffering, and we are a third world class country for millions and millions and thousands and trillions of years.
You're such a fortunate man to have someone taking care of you, sir.
What's that?
You're so fortunate to have someone taking care of you.
Oh yes, we live. Tijuana is the #1 city in the world for violence and delinquency. So imagine you don't see me and you don't see my people over here, asking for the asylum. We are struggling.
There are a lot of Mexicans that ask for asylum.
Yes, but not the majority of them. And San Salvador is the number 27 in the world for violence and delinquency. That's
Do you
Honduras.
think that Mexicans should not be asking for?
Mexicans don't have the possibility to get asylum, sir.
No. That's not what I asked you.
Yes.
Do you think that Mexicans should not be asking for asylum?
They have the right to.
They have the right to.
Yes, everybody has the right to do it.
So do you
exactly
believe
for the
that-
front door and ask for the right? Yes, everybody has the right to ask for asylum.
Okay.
Everybody has the right to ask for asylum.
So you believe
just
those
don't jump a
Mexicans-
fence and
Nobody
violate.
here is jumping
No.
fences.
Yes, look, man. I've been doing this coverage for 8 months.
Yeah.
I've been watching how they try to rush our border. I've been watching, and I have documentation about lawyers making fake marriages and fake families. That is unfortunate. Yes, I have documentation for that.
So nobody should
And-
ever make a fake document
Yes,
to
I
try
have-
and avoid. Listen, this is my question to you.
Yes.
This is my question
yes,
to you.
Yes, go ahead.
Should someone forge a marriage document if it means that you're escaping sexual assault, violence, and extreme poverty to help save your own life and your family? If your family was being jeopardized with extreme violence and your life was threatened, would you be
That's
willing
violating the law, man.
I know. I'm asking you a question,
Yes,
though.
no.
So if there were people who were trying to kill you, and you thought personally, I'm asking your opinion,
Yes.
totally hypothetical scenario.
Okay, let's go ahead.
There are people who are trying to kill you with guns. I don't know who they are.
Okay.
And maybe you don't either.
Okay.
And you think that possibly by forging a marriage document that says you and this other person are married, that can get you away from the violence. You wouldn't do that.
No.
What would your other option be?
Claim the asylum directly into the right place, to the right door, and ask for help. But not.
the door right
but
here.
the
yes,
door.
yes. But I have documentation for everybody not to get mad. We're having a conversation, right?
Yeah, we're having a
We're
conversation.
not getting mad.
No one's upset.
Okay. I have.
Okay. Let's break some things down first. Okay. Because you can tell this guy is very upset. He's upset that Oscar is filming in his country, in his city. He wants to be the ugly American that goes over to Mexico and tells the Mexican people. Because remember, all these activists are doing all of this criminal activity in Mexico. They're doing it to Mexican people. They're doing it right in front of the Mexican people's faces. The people that are suffering the most from this, what do you call it? An invasion of people that are trampling the rights of Mexicans. Right in their faces, they're doing it. And this guy has the audacity to look at Oscar and go, I can do whatever I want, and you shouldn't be filming me. If you're going to talk to me, I want you to answer my questions. It's like, oh my God, what did you think of that guy?
I thought he was really arrogant. I thought that he was, just coming at him right away with an attitude. And also he's just trying to pin him down. He's going to do a straw man argument, try to kick his feet out beneath him. Right away. It wasn't even like, he was making demands, and he's like, "Oh, what would you do with this?" And if you watch the whole thing, like, when people pose those sorts of questions without any knowledge, and Oscar is someone who lives there. He's a resident of the city. He's lived there for many, many years. His family lives there, and this guy's going to come in and talk to him about this stuff. And that guy should be in the United States working on the United States.
He basically called him a Republican, Duke.
Yeah, and he's
How
like,
can he be a right-winger in Mexico?
I know, and he's in Mexico, and that guy should be back in the United States working on the United States problem, because the United States isn't letting people in. And that's what the problem is. And so he's going to blame Mexico and blame Oscar and get all snippety with them I thought he had a really bad attitude.
And, you know, folks, I'm bringing you this. I don't know what his real name is. Maybe it's Justice. Maybe it isn't. A lot of these folks, activists, use fake names. But let's find out who he is. What was he documenting? What was he filmmaking? The mom said, here's my son. I'm here with my son. They're from San Luis Obispo, California. Did you see that lady too? She was super arrogant too. These people have their minds made up. I'm sorry you're all brainwashed. I'm sorry someone brainwashed you before they had you go in and volunteer to help people. But the fact remains that the legal advice, the fact that they're practicing law without a license in Mexico, all of that is harming Mexicans in Mexico. And you're in a host country. You're going to sit there and shake your head at a local reporter who tells you he has evidence of fake marriages and fake families. And she's just like, I don't believe you.
I don't believe it.
They already made up their mind from the moment he had his Border Network News, his jacket on. He walks up to him and he goes, you're with Border Network News. You're right slanted.
Yep.
And Oscar's like, right slanted? Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
I mean,
He got a little bit embarrassed because he looked like a pendejo, right? Am I using the word correctly?
Yes, you are.
Just checking in.
Yep.
Because apparently I have to check in now whenever I use that word.
Mm-hmm.
But then in this is the part that's crazy. This man says, wouldn't you forge a marriage record or whatever kind of official document if that meant that you could get asylum in another country? Do you know the magnitude of the crime that you are talking about here? Because, see, what happens is if they find out down the road that your document is fake, and it's pretty easy to figure out whether or not a document is fake over time, you will be barred from ever entering the United States of America again.
Forever.
You will be immediately deported and you will never, ever, ever be allowed to enter the United States of America again for that crime. If you lie to immigration authorities, what a pendejo.
Mm-hmm.
What a pendejo to think that the best way that, the ends justify the means. So, hey, if you have to fake some documents or whatever, do it, right? If it means, right?
Right.
I don't understand the loose morality behind this idea that, and, I have a feeling, and I guess this is just my opinion, but I feel like folks like this guy, I've seen it so much with these activists. They look for any excuse to justify fraudulent criminal behavior. We saw it with Marcus Mitchell when we caught him lying and fundraising off of fake bullet wounds. We've seen it more recently now with the fight that's going on social media over Dan the Glass Man putting ashes from the sacred fire into some water droplets that he's selling. All of these frauds and phonies has been making bank. All of these fake Indians, pretend Indians, appropriators of Native American culture have been making bank since the Standing Rock days. And none of you who are out there speaking out against it today gave a rip about it before. Maybe it's just that now que tienen cola que les pisen, now that you see that they're coming for you now, you start throwing each other under the bus. Maybe that's what's happening. But you know what's going on in Mexico? In Mexico, people are using fake documents, and they're using it to game the system. They're using it to get services that are meant for citizens of Mexico only. They're going to be using these IDs in Mexico to vote. Oscar's already showed me the documentation that this is going on in Mexico. It's already going on. Here's an article from La Rancherita in which they're talking about a woman who was using a fake ID. You can see her holding her fake ID. There's a video that comes with this. I apologize. This article is in Spanish, but once again, a Mexican Crossing Lines needs to bring you this information so that you understand what's going on in Mexico. This is a Central American woman. Okay. She was very in an altered state. She was upset. She was throwing a fit, basically. And she was arguing that the police that had been called to the scene of a business where she was throwing her fit, they called the cops on her to have her thrown out. And when the cops got there, she said that they were abusing their authority, that they were using undue force and abuse of power on her, and she flashed her fake ID. She was arguing with the police as she was also, she was being videotaped, but she was telling the videographer that she was being abused by the authorities in Mexico. And finally, as she was being arrested while crying, she showed her fake ID. She later admitted that she purchased it for 5,000 pesos in Mexico City. Okay? People are using these false identities, and it gives them this special sense of power over the Mexican authorities and over the Mexican people. You see that? How this mask allows them to con people. Here is one of the lawyers volunteering down at the border. His name is Matt Cameron. You're going to see a lot of these stories in social media. In February of this year, he posted a conversation he had while being interrogated. He was put into secondary questioning at the border. And, a lot of these folks, they post about these things, and they have like a hero complex. They think it's cute, Duke. They're like, oh, I'm on a watch list.
Yeah.
And this is what Matt, who has an avatar of himself talking on the phone like he's Michael Cohen, like he's a very important dude, says between him and the CBP agent, so what's your business in Tijuana? And he says, I was volunteering. CBP, volunteering? He replies, volunteering. CBP remains in eye contact and says, so what kind of things were you doing? And Matt says, just trying to help out however I could. CBP, help who out? And Matt said, the people in Tijuana. See, that's the lie, though. They're helping the migrants in the caravans. They're giving the middle finger to the people of Tijuana. Just like that guy, Justice. He was there to help. Did he help the people in Tijuana? No! He treated them like trash. That's what he did. And then he says, I gave my passport in CBP's hand in a meaningful look. And CBP says, okay, welcome back. So this is, and you notice that they don't tell you what they are doing. Oscar asked that guy, what were you doing? What are you guys doing? What did the lady say? Helping. What in the hell does that mean? Volunteering and helping. That's your definition. And here is Matt in Tijuana talking about his what he did while there. He says, no time for a full update. More soon. But in the past few days, I have conducted a full impromptu interview with downtown Tijuana's city councilor on the Exodus. Notice how he uses the correct jargon. Visited both of the former and current Exodus campsites and heard dozens of stories of pain and persecution. Tried to get my head around the illegal list, which has created and sustained this crisis by virtually obviating any right to apply for asylum in the U.S. with the full sanction of both the American and Mexican governments. Attempted to explain the basic concept of asylum, the credible fear interview process, etc., to as many people as I could find who wanted this information. Flagged a handful of extremely vulnerable cases for further assistance. eaten tacos. Also, regrettably, forgotten to eat tacos for anything else for unacceptably long periods of time.
Oh, yeah, he's so busy.
He works hard for the money.
That's
Wait,
right.
they don't make any money.
That's
They're all
right.
volunteers.
Work hard for the volunteering.
Yeah. And, but they do know how to raise money. Let me show you how they raise money for other people who flout the law. This woman here, she is a judge, okay? And guess what she did? Oops, that is not what I wanted. Guess what she did, Duke?
What'd she do?
She let somebody that was about to be arrested by ICE escape. And so she decided, since she the judge, ICE came and told her, the person in your courtroom, the person you're about to hear a case on, is somebody that we're looking for, and we're here to pick this person up. Let me read to you from the GoFundMe page set up by Matt, the lawyer that looks like he's has delusions of James Bond, that I just read to you about, that he got put in secondary questioning. He started this GoFundMe for her. You can see that here from the GoFundMe. It says Matt right there at the top is the guy, Matt Cameron, and it was started on, at the very top, you can see it says it was created on April 25th. At the very top of the post, you can see that they're raising $15,000 as their goal. That Matt Cameron of right underneath the amount of money that they raised, it says Matt Cameron raised the money, and not only that, but that he's from Boston, Massachusetts. And it is in support of Massachusetts judge and court officer targeted by ICE. So, according to Matt, on April 25th, Newton Judge Shelley Joseph, and of course, court officer named Wesley McGregor were federally indicted by the Department of Justice for, they're going to say human rights stuff, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it says for nothing more than maintaining order and dignity in the courthouse in the face of extreme federal overreach. Judge Joseph had good reason to believe that the defendant in front of her was not the person, but they told you it was the person they were looking for. So Judge Joseph was told by ICE, the person we're looking for is in your courtroom. When you're done, let us talk to him. And instead, she instructed her officer of the court to escort him off the premises via another way. Like, they went through another door so that the ICE officers waiting for them would not see him leave the building. Basically, le ayudaron a la fuga, right? He escapes, and he's raising money for this judge that just took it upon herself. She's going to change the law because she could do it. 1 week before these charges issued against Judge Joseph and Officer McGregor, Special Counsel Robert Mueller clearly outlined at least 10 different serious, credible incidences in which the President of the United States attempting to interfere and even to end an investigation of himself and his campaign. What in the hell does that have anything to do with this judge?
Mm-hmm.
Breaking the law.
Yep.
Even in the face of these serious recommendations and acknowledgement from Mueller that an obstruction of justice charge would have otherwise issued, the Department of Justice has continued its policy of not charging sitting presidents with criminal offenses, but it will go after a judge. Both Judge Joseph and Officer McGregor are facing serious federal charges simply for standing up to federal overreach. Blah, 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 blah. But that's not all, folks. That is not all. Mr. Cameron's, here's his profile so you can see what it looks like. On his page, they were also sharing a fundraiser for the court officer, Mr. McGregor. And here is the GoFundMe for McGregor that was also shared on this lawyer's page. This one is raising $50,000. Wow. Maybe he won't be able to get a job after this, and this is just a little down payment on his new career change. I don't know. But now you know this is the officer of the court that decided to listen to the judge who told him, don't do it. Take him another way. It says here that all the funds collected will be used to help Wesley and his family manage their affairs and maintain stability while he and his attorney respond to the charges and work to attain a fair resolution in his case. So I don't know what the resolution was in this guy's case. I don't know what the resolutions will be in the cases of the people that are breaking the law, that are doing the things connected to their support of protection of people that are undocumented. And the way in which they are going about it. But what I can tell you is they sure are worried about the authorities checking into them and investigating them. Here is Matt Cameron, not McGregor, posting about that San Diego Sector Foreign Operations Branch leaked list of the activists. What did he say, Duke? Read it.
He said, Matt Cameron, full credit to whoever leaked this from CBP. Attorneys, journalists, 2 people who run a Caravan Support Network Facebook page, caravan organizers, all targeted for surveillance investigation, travel restrictions, and harassment for nothing more than their humanitarian work. Congressional investigation now.
Right. And you know what? When he thanks the San Diego, the NBC San Diego, when he thanks them, he is letting you know that their media allies that are outing the authorities' investigations, they're doing a solid to these activists, to these lawyers. They're helping them out. That's why he's thanking them, because he's like, that is really cool of you to go and out the authorities' investigation and let us know. And now, I would like congressmen and senators. Chop, chop.
Yep.
I demand an investigation into them. How about that? Let's turn the tables. Mm-hmm. How the table turns. And I'm going to show you what these activists are doing while they are promoting the agenda of the du jour, that is, come and seek asylum. It is your right. Come and seek asylum. It is your right. Even though they know that the majority of these folks don't qualify for asylum. As you saw in the video with Oscar El Blue, Oscar tells him, Mexicans don't seek asylum. And the guy goes, well, don't you think they should have the right to seek asylum? They don't, because they don't want to commit fraud. They don't because they know they won't get the asylum and it would be a waste of time and money and no lawyer would take their case. They don't because it would be a way of gaming the system, a way of damaging the security of the United States and the law system, the immigration law system, from within. Why would any American want to do that to their own country's legal system? Why would any lawyer working within that system lend themselves to that kind of attack on the very body, on the legal system, on the institution that you served? You're an officer. If you're an officer of the court, when I was a paralegal, well, I'm still a paralegal, but I mean, you are sworn to uphold the law. You are sworn as an officer of the court. You have to take an oath and you have to be ethical. You are violating your oath when you do these things, when you take cases you know won't win. Somehow there is a group of unscrupulous lawyers out there raking in the cash because get while the getting's good. And this is what is happening. There is a flow of people and money over the border. And the detriment falls to the people of Mexico. I'm going to translate what's happening in Nuevo León, one of the many places in Mexico that are constantly getting hit with migrants. Here's the results. Nuevo León has always been characterized for its generosity and its help to migrants, those seeking a better life. But in the last months, hundreds and hundreds of migrants, mostly from Central America, have stolen the peace and tranquility of this place. They should respect us. I've talked to some of them, and I said, please respect us. We respect you. We don't mess with you. We give you everything. You didn't have these things in your country, and we give them to you here, like freedom. What is it? You can just imagine what it's like for these residents waking up every day and finding human defecation and urination on your doorstep, literally. Not being able to leave your house alone, being afraid that someone will break in and steal from you, being afraid to leave your home because there are men that have sexually assaulted women on the streets. She would like the mayor, anybody to come down, somebody to come and see what they're. We need a solution. The mayor needs to come and see this. Let them see what's happening. He's never come down here. They won't come down here. What about the kids? Oh, my kids? I don't let them go out. I'll go in and talk to the ones at the other corner. We're sick of it. We're tired of it. It's the same everywhere. The inhabitants say that 2 years ago, there was only a handful of people that came to eat at this soup kitchen. Now, hundreds arrive every day. And there's a lot of thefts, people getting jacked in the zone. Yeah, it's so many people. The caravans come right through here. They've already put a fence around the plaza because they just filled it and took it over. But now they're on the outside. And they're in front of the houses. They go inside of the people's residences and they use the front yards as their toilets. And there's good people and there's bad people in these caravans. The ones that are good are inside the shelter. The ones on the outside are the bad ones. I don't go out as often as I could. I'm afraid to leave my home. Twice people have broken into my home, stealing computers and other. And who do you blame? People are so scared that many are selling their homes. Yeah, they're here all over the place. They take drugs right here in the public, in front of us. I can't stand it anymore. My son says, sell your house and let's go. And I said, I can't. I've lived my whole life here. Why would I leave? The pastor of the soup kitchen has bought the property next door. Somebody else is going to sell their property to him, one of my neighbors. And they've already robbed both of those neighbors of mine. They want at least public security to be beefed up, something to be done. But meanwhile, the neighbors have to put up with insecurity, human defecation, urination, fights, and danger. That's what's going on.
Wow.
And the arrogance of the people, like that guy that Oscar interviewed, is stunning. Mm-hmm. Is stunning to me because he doesn't have to go through that. He doesn't have to live with what these people are dealing with, but he wants to lecture them. He wants to tell them. He wants to tell people like Oscar in his own country, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm coming here to lecture you. And he doesn't have to live with the consequences of what he does. It is the epitome of hypocrisy and arrogance, in my opinion. What do you think, Duke?
Yeah, how would you like it if there were so many people in your community that they're overflowing your central plaza, that you would have to put fences up and there was not enough places to go to the bathroom, that they were defecating in your front yard and people doing drugs and stumbling around and no security. How would you feel about that? It's not just people's fault there. And it looks like, this guy's opening up possibly more shelters, buying up housing right around there, going to expand it. I mean, it's like, because this problem is going to be there for a long time. Because remember, United States not letting people in over the border. They're so backlogged with any legitimate claims of asylum. Any legitimate claims are backlogged with all these fake ones going through, that it's like those people are going to be in that community a long time. So how would you like it? How would you like it if you felt like you're overrun? And it's not your fault. You're trying to basically, be responsible and kind and giving to the people in your community and the newcomers that are coming through your community, and yet they're there causing problems. You have problems when you have massive amount of people shoved into one small area. You ever been to a concert? In concerts, they have a beginning and end. This festival is just going to go on and on and on. They're not equipped to do it, and there's no event, in the community. People are figuring out how to make money at it, but there's a lot of people losing a lot of money and losing a lot of things that they value, which is their homes, their peace, their tranquility, their neighborhoods, and people don't feel safe. And I can understand why. And I wouldn't feel, if people came, 2,000, 3,000 people all of a sudden descended to our park just down the street here, I would be concerned, wouldn't you?
I mean, seriously, I think that what these activists, pseudo-activists, lawyers, all of these folks that are in the Caravan Support Network, what they're doing is a slap in the face to the Mexican people that are asking for help and for the recognition of what's happening to their country to be noted by them. They're pleading. They're going up to, I see what Oscar is doing as a form of education. These Mexicans, like those of us who have been bringing you the real news from the border, like Border Network News is doing, what they're trying to tell you is, wake up. Wake up. This is what's happening to us. Do you understand? I am telling you, this is happening in my town. And for folks like this activist Justice to simply silence him and laterally oppress him and say, you don't matter, brown man, in your own city. You don't matter. I'm here to tell you how I'm going to do to your country. I'm going to do this to your country. I'm going to come in like Juan por su casa. I'm going to rearrange your furniture and you're going to like it, or I'm going to call you a racist. You're going to like it, or I'm going to tell you you are not a Christian. You are not humane. You won't let somebody come and poop in your front yard and use drugs in front of your children. You're a racist. So it is with this backdrop, this mask, these activists wear, okay? I want you to understand that it is an act. It is a hypocritical lie. Because in the end, they're going to leave all the cleanup work to Mexico, right? Who's gonna clean up all the mess after they bring millions of people into the U.S.? You think these groups are gonna do it? You think Al Otro Lado's gonna do it? You think that these Native Americans are gonna do it? You think that the Tohono O'odham? You think that the Carrizo-Comecrudo tribe are gonna take care of them? No, it's your tax dollars that are gonna go to work then. You're going to do the cleanup. And they know it. And they don't care. And if you don't want to do the cleanup, they're going to call you a racist. Here in the U.S., that's the way it goes. I showed you that these folks are vultures. They like to feed on the carcass of the disasters they created. And they share the same ideology. In this post from one such disaster vulture, I can't remember her real name. Mainga Ikwe. She's this white lady that loves to use Indian names because it makes them feel special. She was at Standing Rock. She was posting about the occupation Tornillo people being outside of the Tornillo detention facility protesting along with the locals and residents from that area, to astroturf that issue and raise money. And if you can see at the bottom of this image from their protest in Tornillo, it says "Chinga la migra." That is their, F ICE, or adjacent to the abolish ICE, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is the mantra. No border, no wall, abolish ICE. There is no room for any kind of enforcement. Get rid of it all together. Get rid of the wall. Get rid of enforcement. Anarchy reigns. Yeah, they're anarchists. They want you to know that they're anarchists. They want you to know that they're socialists. That's what they tell you. And they say in this, and he says in this post, Alex Cohen, who I showed you on my show, is one of these disaster vultures traveling from place to place, like he did after Standing Rock when he went to the hurricanes in Puerto Rico, after the hurricanes in Puerto Rico, along with other Standing Rock, quote unquote, first responders. They're not. They have no training. They just decided to call themselves that and went out there and defrauded people and made money by defrauding people out in Puerto Rico. And he says, spending the past few hours at a hotel turned shelter assisting with transportation of migrants that the government just dumped on the streets of El Paso. He's one of the volunteers. He loves to tell you about how heart-wrenching it is. I honestly don't have many words. The stories of violence in people's homelands that they are fleeing, only to be met with pure cruelty in America. The stories from inside the detention camps are horrific. Moms with babies being denied water, so much so that one woman's breast milk was drying in detention. One guard wouldn't let a woman with a 2-year-old baby sit down, then hit her in the face with a pencil and said, "You are the reason I am not home on Christmas. It's freezing cold here. The government just dumped families on the streets, some with ankle bracelets, some without. No explanation about it. If there are court dates," similar language to what we've heard from these other activists, right? Legal obligations, or what the ankle bracelets are for. If the local community that is organizing here didn't step up, there'd be many more deaths. I have so many more thoughts, but all I can process right now, so many flashbacks to Puerto Rico after Maria. He's being triggered. See, in the end, you will find that these activists make martyrs of themselves. So you're not going to be seeing the migrant faces. They use the dead babies and the migrant faces to raise funds and to say, I'm down here doing God's work, volunteering with these people. But in the end, the martyred, the ones that you need to support, are a bunch of privileged, well-connected white folks that are really the puppet masters, the ones working to move this mass migration. The U.S. is orchestrating a deadly humanitarian crisis across the border, he says. You have to keep blaming the United States government for the thing that you did. And then I wanted to show you from this Occupy Detroit page, one of the pages in which they promoted Bertie Gutierrez's Bridges of Love Across Border. But look at who else. Look at who the key people are in this smuggling network. Occupy ICE Detroit posted that there is only one morally correct response to the caravan. See? It's black and white, folks. Only one. Here's the moral thing. Throw open the doors and welcome everyone in. That's it. No other. Failure to do so is not just a rejection of moral duty. It is a complete abdication of both national and international values. It also ignores that the weight of the responsibility the United States places on itself when it declared dominion over Central and South American countries and then repeatedly destabilized those countries in the name of corporate interests. You're destabilizing countries, the country of Mexico right now. You're destabilizing both the United States and Mexico right now. But they say, oh, the United States destabilized these Latin American countries, which gives us the justification to say we need to do everything to get rid of the walls and get rid of our laws and let everybody in. Don't ask any questions. This is just karma for what we've already done to these countries. Look at the hypocrisy behind this. The Abolish ICE network is fully committed to supporting the caravans traveling to the U.S. border, and we would love your help. Here's how you can help. Join the group, the Facebook group, to financially support the caravans from within. Donate to Pueblos Sin Fronteras, the people being investigated. See who are the key people in these groups? Who is another key group? The camps at the border. Carrizo-Comecrudo, Juan Mancias, Tohono O'odham, the camps are rising, Evan Duke, Antifa. To provide first aid blankets, clothes, toiletries. There you go, Bertie Gutierrez. Mm-hmm. Right? Bridges of Love Across Borders. Also, San Diego Rapid Response Network, Mark Lane, the Minority Humanitarian Foundation, Families Belong Together. All of those are connected to Bertie. And of course, we know that Bernie Sanders' campaign and Native American superstar Deborah Parker is connected to Bertie Gutierrez, as is Myron Dewey of Digital Smoke Signals. And finally, at the bottom, we have Casa Condor. Casa Condor. And it says that to those along the Arizona border and campaign, you need to give to No More Deaths. No más muertes. No more deaths. So all of these are key components, shelters that are key to this operation, the camps that are key to this operation, and the escorts who are really smugglers. That is Pueblos Sin Fronteras, right? And all the people that help them do the escorting. They tell you all in one spot. Here's all the people, the most important ones. And we know Bertie Gutierrez, like No More Deaths, Bertie Gutierrez began her activism. She was doing her activism back in the day based on holding ICE accountable. This is one of the things that came out of investigations, reports that were coming out of Border Patrol about their treatment of people. And some horrific stories that really did merit more investigation and more accountability for Border Patrol. But, you know, when these pseudo-activists hijack an issue, it almost always is detrimental to the cause, detrimental to the topic, and detrimental to the people that are actually organizing for change. In this article, 50 Murders by the Police, you see that La Flor de la Resistencia, one of the organizations Bertie Gutierrez is connected to and still posting on and using for the Caravan Support Network now, is listed as an organizer. And she is quoted in the article talking about Border Patrol and how they need to be held more accountable for what they do. Okay? This is part of what No More Deaths also was doing. This called No More Deaths, and they seem to imply and say with the phrase that what they consist of, what they do is merely putting water in the desert, giving somebody a drink of water, which anybody would do, right? Don't get fooled. Don't let them fool you. That's not all they do. One of the components, as you know, is they want to expose ICE. They want to catch him in the act. They want to prove to everyone that these people are inhumane, because we're not just fighting on the front of protecting our national security and protecting our border and protecting our laws. We're fighting in the court of public opinion, and these people are masters at that. They're very good at putting up dead bodies of little children, kids in cages, no matter if they're even from the present day or whether they're from the Obama administration. It doesn't matter. It's all about perception. And the perception is that the Border Patrol, the detention facilities are cruel and inhumane. Check out what Doug McLean from the Pipeline Protector Group posted. Can you read that one, Duke?
Yes. Doug McLean shared a post December 15th. Jacqueline, my Rosemary, called McKean, say her name. Justice for Jacqueline. 90 minutes passed before she was given medical attention. Jacqueline died of dehydration and shock. This little girl from Guatemala was only 7 years old when she died in U.S. Border Patrol custody. Her family were from a region of Alta Verapaz, and her first language was Quechua, which is an indigenous language. The humanitarian group No More Deaths has posted videos showing border agents destroying the gallons of water their volunteers leave in the desert for dehydrated migrants. Read more at this NBC News link. Say her name. Her death was senseless. We cannot continue to have such apathy towards each other as human beings, regardless of race or border. New Sanctuary Coalition.
And it's a link. New Sanctuary Coalition, which includes Mohammed El-Nakib, Linda Sarsour, all of the people in this interfaith group of clergy that went to get arrested at the border. An image I showed you was shared by Juan Mancias, which attended by Lolly B. We know Vanessa Dundon was there. We know we know that all of the people that were reporting on were down there for those arrests, for that event. Now, Duke.
Yes.
Can you explain to me how No More Deaths has anything to do with this post? Because here we were talking about a little girl that died in border control custody of dehydration and shock, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, you're learning about where she came from, what language she spoke.
Yep.
Then, full stop. No More Deaths is a group that has showed videos exposing how Border Patrol slashes the jugs of water in the desert they volunteer to leave for dehydrated migrants.
Yeah, well, these groups are opportunists. They're always looking for some sort of issue, something that they can bolster exactly what they're wanting to raise money around. And so they'll take an incident and they'll blow it out of proportion, or they'll just make the connection that the videos they have of the people slashing the jugs that were left there for people to drink, they're gonna basically die of thirst in the desert, is all linked to this child. And when there's really no evidence that what they did actually did this to a child. And it's unfortunate, there are people dying in the desert. There have been people dying in the desert for years and years and years and years. There are so many unclaimed bodies that are in places that people have collected. This has been going on for a long time. This group all of a sudden is stepping up, and they're going to use this situation to bolster their own things. You want to move that?
Sorry about that. I agree with you, but also I think it's very interesting that he just inserts them in there because he wants to connect these things together.
Mm-hmm.
The No More Deaths group shows you that Border Patrol is bad, and also that No More Deaths and groups like them, like the Border Angels, are necessary. They're necessary. It's completely normal for people like Scott Warren of No More Deaths and other volunteers of that group to be out in the middle of the desert giving transportation and or harboring people that they help to bring into the country illegally through their escort volunteers. And it's totally okay. You should get used to seeing that. It should be normalized in your mind that they're just out there giving water out. That's all they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to look at the fact that they're connected to the Tohono O'odham tribe, where almost half of the tribe has had some sort of law enforcement contact because of their involvement with the cartels and smuggling of people and things. But we're not supposed to take that into account. We're not supposed to take into account the fact that they had planned and discussed. I showed you Myra and Dewey's texts with Jess Wegers, where they were talking about, hey, have you talked to the Tohono O'odham? They could be helpful in doing this stuff. Well, we know why they're knowledgeable about that, the Tohono O'odham. But they also tagged the New Sanctuary Coalition because it's important that moral superiority that you get from using clergy, any kind, don't matter. Even fake shaman like Doug McLean's partner in this pipeline, Standing Rock Protectors Pipeline protesters page that they both moderate and administrate, will do. Here is Jim Graywolf Petruzzi's post on population control. He says, population numbers are out of control. It is tiring to hear some no change people go on and on about how we have the ability to feed everyone on the planet. Even if we could feed and house an ever-increasing number of humans, doesn't mean it's wise or sustainable. We are too many. We breed like rabbits. No, white people do not breed like rabbits. This guy's an Italian dude. Y'all's population is dropping in the U.S. I don't know if you heard of this thing called the census, but you can check it and verify my numbers. The people that are still having and reproducing in larger numbers are people of color in this country. That's who he's talking about, is breeding like rabbits. Mr. Petruzzi, you're a racist for saying that. And he says, going on, we breed like rabbits with no attention to the carrying capacity of our planet. It is arrogance in action, or the false sense of entitlement some religions foster. The reality is there are too many people. We are not sustainable. We need to work to educate so that the population can begin to shrink. 1.5 to 2 billion people is optimum by many scientists, not the 7 to 8 billion we have now. So, eugenics much, Mr. Graywolf Petruzzi?
Yeah, I guess.
Dude?
Oh, man.
That's how it starts. He's talking about eugenics.
Yeah, when I hear someone talk like that, I always like, I listen and it's like, well, so what are you saying? Well, a lot of times I go into birth control and population control, but then, they include themselves in the few that are going to be saved. So it's really something to help them out and their descendants and their families. All you other people that are breeding like rabbits, you got to stop that and get rid of some. So if a bunch of people die in some sort of disaster or not disaster, it's okay. It's going to thin out the population and it's going to help the group to sustain.
How many Native American leaders, and believe me, Jim Petruzzi is not one of them, but how many, I know he likes to pretend he's an Indian, but he's not. How many of them have you heard? How many indigenous people have you heard, period? How many people of color at all can you remember that said, you know what? We need to start killing people.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's how they start. They start by saying we need to reduce the population. Then they start forcefully sterilizing women. Then they start taking our babies, and then they kill you. That's how it goes, folks.
Exactly.
That's how, folks. And this is a progressive. This is a guy that's on the left, and he's attacking religions when he is a fake shaman. I mean, oh my God, I don't even know where to begin with this guy. this should be worrisome to you. But you know what worries these folks? It's not that kind of talk by fake shaman and their mostly white, privileged, politically connected leadership with Indian masks on. Nope, that's not what they're worried about. They don't care about being hypocrites or liars or frauds. You know what they care about? They care about America passing laws to stop them from using protest camps, from using situations like the caravans and turning them into weapons against their own country. That's what they're worried about. Here's a post by the Standing Rock Protectors worried about just that. If you want to read that for us, it's about the Texas state legislature passing a bill that will essentially stop people, fine people a lot of money if they are in a protest. It says HB 3557 will charge
water protectors with felonies and charge nonprofits helping with actions like Standing Rock up to $1 million.
Haha, you can't mess with Texas. Don't mess with Texas.
Yeah, well, North Dakota tried doing.
And did you see who posted it? It was AIM SoCal that posted this, and it was reposted in the Standing Rock Protectors page.
Okay.
That's Doug McLean.
Nice.
That's Jim Graywolf Petruzzi. Okay? But, of course, they would rather have you think that Indians and Indian issues are what's really on their page, even though now it's full of stuff about the caravan. Why are they talking about these things, and why are their media partners helping them? The Intercept shared an article titled "The Fourth Amendment Doesn't Apply Here. U.S. Border Guards Arrest Arizona Immigrant Rights Volunteer." They're talking about a woman named Adelstein. This is an article, one of many written by Ryan Devereaux, that link together people in the Border Support Network in Tijuana being investigated, like Al Otro Lado lawyers, journalists, the camp people that are at the border, and now the group by the Sonoita, Mexico, Luxville, Arizona crossing, where Irineo Mujica of Pueblos Sin Fronteras is now operating in close proximity to the Sinaloa cartel. In this place, Ryan Devereaux is talking about Anna Adelstein, a volunteer at Casa del Migrante. But what you don't know is that Anna Adelstein and many of the people that went to volunteer at Casa del Migrante are from the group No More Deaths. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's important for you to know. Why? Well, because both of those Casa del Migrantes are in Mexico, in cartel territory. And, by the way, so is Irineo Mujica. So is his business, right there in that spot, the guy from Pueblos Sin Fronteras. You think if he was moving people from Central America into the United States before with Pueblos Sin Fronteras, he ain't doing it now? He retired? I don't think so. People have seen him around. He's down there. He's working. And in this article, Mr. Devereaux gives away something that we already know, which is that all of these cases are connected. All these stories that he's been writing about, they're all part of the Border Support Network. He says in a paragraph in this article, the arrest marks the latest in a series of aggressive actions the Trump administration's frontline immigration enforcement agencies have taken against individuals and organizations working with migrants, which has included the arrest of 9 humanitarian aid providers in Arizona. That's Scott Warren and the people with No More Deaths. The sweeping surveillance, interrogation, and travel restrictions leveled against activists, journalists, and immigration attorneys in San Diego and Tijuana. Oh, really? And the arrest of this woman with the Casa Migrantes. Guys, that's it. We solved the puzzle. You got Casa Migrante in Mexico, in the Sonora territory. You've got Pueblos Sin Fronteras leader Irineo Mujica at the front of the whole deal. You have the Tohono O'odham tribe, which is part of that smuggling operation network corridor. And then you have the No More Deaths group. Does it start to complete a picture for you of how this operation is being run? I think, if you start to connect the dots, it's not that difficult to see how it's working. And I'm sure that the authorities will let you know. But this writer and many other media allies out there are trying to paint a picture. And that is, Trump is mean. Trump is inhumane. Here in this screen capture, you can see how they mention the idea of them being intimidated. That's what Trump's administration is trying to do, intimidate people. It's Fourth Amendment says intimidation from CBP has been ramping up. Adelstein told The Intercept, with CBP routinely pulling individuals working on migrant issues into secondary screening, grilling them with questions, and using words like aiding and abetting. We got that it's intimidation, Adelstein said, and it's scary. We went across the border. We told the border people what we were going to do, and they let us in. Mm-hmm. And when we came back, we told the border people what we were doing, and they let us in, and they didn't put us in secondary.
Nope, not at all. Went right through.
We went right through. No problems.
Yep.
I don't know. And if they had pulled me aside, I would have been comfortable telling them what I was doing.
Exactly.
Instead of this, nonsense where these lawyers are lying to them and saying, I was volunteering. No, you weren't. You were working. You were practicing law without a license in Mexico. And we have you dead to rights. We've had you dead to rights again and again. Remember, there is a lot of these lawyers groups that are defending, protecting, in addition to their media allies, all of these activists that have gotten themselves involved. Here, on a post by Nate Dennison, you can see he's giving a shout out, I've showed you this before, to the ACLU, where he's thanking them for taking on his case because, he's on that Homeland Security list. And also, he said that, he's connected to Al Otro Lado, Border Angels, and No More Deaths, Bridges of Love Across Borders, the Yauli camps, and of course that implies the Border Support Network. Who posted this in the Border Support Network, by the way? It was Vanessa Dundon. Vanessa Dundon, one of the people most involved in this. And Vanessa Dundon, as you recall, I told you, was at that event where all that clergy got arrested. See? This is the same place I just showed you where Lolly's dog was. It says here today at the border awaiting the clergy coming to get arrested to help raise awareness. So they went to get arrested on purpose for the media so that they could get more eyes on the issue, but also for the money. That's what they did at Standing Rock. I told you. They create violent clashes with the police because it gets them more clicks. It gets them more followers. It makes people mad. They know how to use social media. And they know how to milk people like you. The asylum seekers that are key in all of this were posted here by Chanel Helm. Can you read this one, Duke, please?
Chanel Helm. yesterday at 5:41 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
What's good, everybody? With the onset of folks arriving hella early in Tijuana, folks are mobilizing to get there to support the exodus. What we know is more will come to arrive through this route for some weeks unless that changes, but it is strategic. Groups, organizations, and individuals heading support that way will be listed in a few. In the meantime, please look at the threads asking about rideshare, medics, legal, LGBTQ plus resources, because these are what are needed right now in Tijuana. Folks are also stationing in San Diego and San Ysidro. We are planning a network call as soon as updates are synthesized from folks on the ground responding. Thank ya for being vigilant.
And this course is posted in the Border Support Network.
Yep.
There's their cover photo, and if you scroll down, there's a post by Petra Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
That lists all the places for you to give money to.
Okay.
Let's look at them again.
Yep.
Okay? We've got they want you to sign up for volunteering, for Healing Art Music, for Border Volunteers, and they want you to donate to these key groups.
Yep.
Pueblos Sin Fronteras, Camps Arising, which is essentially the link, Asylum Seekers Caravan Support Network.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Border Support Network. Who else? Bridges of Love Across Border, Casa Condor in Texas. Again, no more deaths. Asylum Seekers Caravan Support Network is listed twice.
Oh.
And they have a rideshare. And they have Unicorn Riot listed. Help them out, too, because they did such a good job, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There they are. So we know they have media partners that you need to fund. We know how this works. And it's all for their activists. It's for their activists that they protect, that do their bidding. Here is one of them. His name is Scott Warren. In this video that they posted on their YouTube channel, I showed you how the Drop the Charges Against Scott Warren video connects him to the Tohono O'odham tribe that has had so many problems with DEA and law enforcement because of their tribe's involvement in human trafficking and smuggling. In this next post, the screenshot of their YouTube page, it shows the raid that happened about a year ago.
Okay.
1 year ago, in which a whole bunch of people got in trouble for harboring and sheltering and transporting undocumented people. But see, the thing is, if somebody just gave water to or accidentally picked up someone they didn't even know was undocumented and gave them a ride because they were hitchhiking, it would be one thing. These people are setting up a route and telling people where to go. Go over there. We left some food for you. Border Angels are doing the same damn thing. Same damn thing. We know that you are being investigated for more than just humanitarian work. We're not stupid. And let's look at all of the people from the Standing Rock encampment that are invested in this. There's Johnny Dangers, a.k.a. Rob Wilson and family. Rob Wilson, their media partner that was down in Tijuana, spreading their propaganda, is sharing a Truth Out article about Scott Warren and how he's facing up to 20 years in prison for providing aid to migrants. That's not true. Truth Out. It's for doing other things that he shouldn't have been doing.
Exactly. And
doing them in conjunction with people connected to Irineo Mujica and to Pueblos Sin Fronteras, who are now very closely linked in proximity, both in proximity and in territory, to the cartel, Sinaloa cartel. Look, who else Johnny Dangers, a.k.a. Rob Wilson, posted about. He reposted the People for Bernie Sanders, who of course have millions and millions of followers online, and Bernie Sanders, People for Bernie Sanders page, reposted a Washington Post op-ed by Scott Warren. I mean, the glad handing could not be more.
Mm-hmm.
The helping could not be more. And this Washington Post op-ed was very interesting, folks. I'll give you the link so you guys can go check it out for yourselves. But it is titled, "I gave water to migrants crossing the Arizona desert. They charged me with a felony." These are two disconnected things. You skipped the part where you were harboring people and where you're part of a larger smuggling and trafficking operation. That is what you're leaving out. And what you're doing is very, very risky. And the people that you guys are all getting involved with is also even riskier. And those folks need to know that. I'm sure that there are unsuspecting, well-meaning progressives that are out there putting stuff down in the desert thinking they're not doing anything illegal when they may very well be involved with people that are doing all of the illegal things. And y'all need to know, get out, run, don't look back. You're going to end up like Scott Warren. But, I'm not going to read this to you, his fantasy of what he did or didn't do. I am merely going to share one interesting paragraph from this article, his argument as to why his particular case is so important and so, precedent setting. In other words, why they shouldn't find him guilty.
Okay.
He would like for this case to be favorable in that he doesn't want to be charged. And I'm going to go, I'm going to remind folks to watch the show that I did in which I talked about the history of No More Deaths and explained to you basically how there were other groups that preceded No More Deaths that began, like the Good Samaritans, that began by simply putting out water. They weren't out there to try to videotape Border Patrol doing anything that would then be presented to the public to make the public want to abolish Border Patrol and ICE. They weren't out for that. They simply wanted to put water out. As these iterations of these groups progressed, they became what we have now with Border Angels and No More Deaths, where, they have been accused of doing more. They are being accused of falling under that smuggling crime statute 1324, where you are aiding and abetting the crime of human smuggling if you're harboring, if you're transporting. And the courts are going to be looking at these things on a case-by-case basis. So, honey, read what he said in this WAPO op-ed.
My case in particular may set a dangerous precedent as the government expands its definition of transportation and harboring. The smuggling and harboring laws have always been applied selectively, with aggressive prosecution of criminal networks, but leniency for big agriculture and other politically powerful industries that employ scores of undocumented laborers. Now the law may be applied to not only humanitarian aid workers, but also to the millions of mixed status families in the United States. Take, for instance, a family in which one member is undocumented and another member who is a citizen. Take one member who is a citizen is buying groceries and paying the rent. Would the government call that harboring? If this family were driving to a picnic in the park, would the government call that illegal transportation? Though this possibility would have seemed far-fetched a few years ago, it has become frighteningly real. The Trump administration's policies were...
shut up about Trump.
Blah, blah, blah.
Shut up about... Stop putting Trump on everything to make excuses for what you're doing. This guy, Scott. You don't have to do these mental gymnastics. Would they do this? Would they, like, he sounds like a Dr. Seuss hypothetical. Would they do it in a shoe? Would they do it if he's blue?
Yeah.
Look, you know the truth. You said it yourself right there in your op-ed. Isn't it weird that he put criminal in quotes?
Yeah.
Look at that. What other meaning? I mean, when you put something in quotes, you're saying it's not criminal. He's saying the current law applies. So the way that it's being enforced currently is that they prosecute aggressively. They prosecute criminal networks. That would be traffickers and drug traffickers, sex traffickers, it's the like, right? Smugglers. They aggressively prosecute those networks. Why did you put criminal network in air quotes? What's questionable about the criminality of smuggling and trafficking operations? Because I don't think that the U.S. government has ever been in doubt about what that is, and that it's illegal and that it's wrong. Maybe you have a moral question about that, Scott Warren. It seems like you do from the way you wrote this op-ed. But here's the thing. The argument he is making there is, we don't prosecute people who employ hundreds, sometimes thousands of undocumented people at their businesses. That's true. A lot of people have made those kinds of arguments when there are, big raids of like meat packing plants or other factories or businesses or whatever that you use or have a lot of undocumented immigrants working for them. And you're right. They don't get prosecuted all the time or to the extent that people that are undocumented do. I would even argue that the punishment of a fine and in some cases, a criminal record and some jail time is not as harsh as being deported, right? But you can't compare apples to oranges. Employers of undocumented people are not placing themselves into a network. What'd you call it? A criminal network? An operation involving human trafficking and smuggling? Because that is way, way different. And we've never had any distinction where we were lenient on that kind of crime. Mr. Warren, what are your thoughts about this? Because I thought it was such a, tricky little shift that he tried to do there. Like, oh, I'm going to, change it. It's like a shell game. You're not going to notice that I'm going to talk about this other thing.
Yeah. He just trying to deflect, He was just basically, bringing up the big egg and all that sort of stuff, It's like, and, you should have been attacking that stuff a long time ago. You should have, they're getting away with it. Now they're attacking the humanitarian aid people, the innocent people trying to do the good. And those other people are bad people exploiting people, which, they are. But, it's like his whole argument is that throw shade on them and shed light on his own.
Mm-hmm. I'm not buying. Folks, what these folks are doing is trying to make themselves the victim. Look at the posting from Rafael Carranza on the first day of the Scott Warren trial. They got 128,000 signatures. They put together the petition to stop, to drop the charges, to stop this trial from going forward, and they failed.
Of course.
They had 128,000 signatures, and Arizona said, nope, you're going to court. So this reporter, I guess, is saying that this is the first day. This is happening now. First day of a felony trial is set to begin. Tucson In Tucson for Scott Warren, a humanitarian aid volunteer arrested by Border Patrol and charged with housing and helping 2 undocumented immigrants in Ajo last year. Rafael goes on saying, first up, defense and prosecuting attorneys must choose the 12-person jury for the trial, unsure how long this will take.
Yeah.
Oh, I could tell you, Rafael. Voir dire takes anywhere from 2 to 3 days to a week. Usually doesn't take more than that.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who don't know what voir dire is, it is the process by which they select a jury. You've been part of one of these jury selection processes,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
They try to figure out whether or not you have some kind of bias. No?
That's right. Yeah, there's the prosecution and the defense are wanting jurors that are going to, side with them. So they can weed people out. They have different rules. They can just weed people out for no reasons. They can argue. They have a whole strategy about that. And that can take, a day or more in a day. It depends on how the questioning goes. I've been on four different time juries, and I've been let go right away, and I've had to stay till the end for some. So, it can be a long process. And when you're actually the defendant, you've got to sit there through that whole thing and just watch and watch and watch.
Exactly. And then it says, jury questionnaire submitted to court focuses greatly on extensive media coverage of Warren's arrest and his prosecution. Most of the questions to the jury so far have focused on prior knowledge of Warren's arrests, as well as personal thoughts on the Border Patrol and border security. One potential juror admitted to being a Border Patrol agent.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on. And of course, everyone is going to be following this trial. I will be waiting with bated breath for the jury's decision, just like the rest of the people in America. And Nicole Ramos is also tweeting out. She has tweeted for no more deaths. She tweets in solidarity with no more deaths here. And also fellow person on the CBP watch list and or person questioned by Border Patrol, Nate Abaurrea. Like her, Nate Abaurrea was stopped at the border, put into secondary, and questioned. She shares his tweet in which he says, those dang letters are so tiny I could barely see them, Duke.
I know.
Let me see if I can read them off my screen a little bit better. He says, I'm waiting. Nate Abaurrea says, I got ambushed and interrogated by CBP today on my way into Mexico. 5 officers waiting on the walkway just before the entrance to Mexico stopped me and ordered me to step into a little side cage area. I asked why I was being stopped. I was told to be quiet and turn around. Good job, Mexican cops. Then it says, okay, this was Border Patrol stopping him before he walked into Mexico, okay? Nicole Ramos says, it isn't hyperbolic. Whenever she starts a sentence by saying, I'm not blank, that's exactly what she's doing. That's exactly what she's doing. She is being hyperbolic. She's letting you know, I am about to be hyperbolic. Calling Border Patrol at CBP modern-day Nazi stormtroopers. And I am not hysterical when I tell all who will listen that we are occupying a front row seat to the rise of fascism. I thought you guys believed this was already a fascist state. Which is it? Is it the rise of fascism? Is fascism already here? Is fascism coming next week? What's going on? And then, of course, she tags Nate Abaurrea, No More Deaths, Pueblos Sin Fronteras, Border Angels, Kaji Dusa of Sanctuary, New Sanctuary Coalition, and 2 other people's Twitter handles I don't recognize. If y'all recognize who those are, let me know. I don't know. I haven't had a chance. Nora is tired. That must be Nora. And E.E. Rocks must be the other attorney in her. I bet that's Nora Phillips. And I can't remember the name of the other one. But Pueblos Sin Fronteras also also has been commenting about their solidarity with no more deaths. They tweeted, you want to read this one, Duke?
Yep. Another episode in a series of increasing harassment and arbitrary detention and surveillance by CBP agents as part of their campaign against migrants and solidarity. Trump uses the DHS Gov as his political police. Solidarity with Nate Abaurrea.
And there's Trump again.
Yeah, got to put Trump in there.
You got to put Trump in there somewhere. They're the ones that cannot get Trump's name out of their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, just put a little Trump on it. And
Yeah,
of
throw
course,
some
and
Trump
then-
on it.
And now it's Nazi.
Yep.
That's how they do. Well, this Nate Abaurrea that they have all been talking about made his own thread about how he got ambushed at the border. I'll let you read it, Duke.
All right.
I got ambushed.
I got ambushed. Nate, I got ambushed and interrogated by CBP. Today on my way into Mexico, 5 officers waiting on the walkway just before entrance into Mexico stopped me and ordered me to step in a little side cage area. I asked why I was being stopped. I was told to be quiet and turn around. Thread. See what's this next one. Not sure what this is. Okay.
You have the next one?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what this
Well,
thing is cut off at the top.
there's about 2 or 3 posts for every one of these. I was told to be quiet and turn around, and then at the bottom of that, the first one, it said, I was then ordered to put my hands down on the metal table as my pockets were emptied by 2 officers. I again asked, if you scroll down on there, it says, I again asked why I was being stopped. What's the probable cause here? We don't need probable cause, sir, another officer responded. We can stop and search whoever we want. Well, duh. That's how it works. Haven't you ever crossed the border? I mean, the privilege of these people, the arrogance of these people is astounding to me. I have been crossing the border in different places, in El Paso, in Brownsville, in Matamoros, in Tijuana. I've crossed in a lot of different places, and I've crossed my entire life, most of it on foot or in a car. Tons and tons of times. I can't remember the number of times that either on our way into Mexico or on our way into the United States, we were stopped by Border Patrol and had to unload everything out of our car and answer questions about where we were going, where we had been, what we did. It never even occurred to me that I should call the media and be outraged or demand congressional investigations into Border Patrol.
That's right.
What the hell was I thinking? I was just following the dang law. And it's the job, literally, of Customs and Border Protection to check to make sure contraband, food, weapons, humans, drugs do not come into this country, or bad people. And they do it randomly. Lots and lots and lots of them get through because they just don't have the resources to check every single person. So these people are highly trained. They know what things set off their spider senses, where they have to be like, okay, this is not normal. Something about this person I need to check into further. And then they will check into you further. There's nothing you can do to stop them. And there's no reason why you should think that you have that right as an American to stop, whether it's Customs and Border Protection in Mexico or in the United States, from going through your luggage, going through your telephone, going through your camera, or anything else. They can and will continue to do that. So I think it's hilarious that this guy is acting all like, how dare they ask me questions?
Yeah, really.
And they turned it into a capital case here. Then he goes on and he says, the ringleader, a RoboCop-looking officer named Wes, You want to continue from there?
Yeah, it's pretty small, but
Sternly questioned me as he continued searching. Got any drugs on you? No. Got over $10,000? No. How much money do you have? $20. What's going on here? Keep your hands on the table, sir.
yeah.
So why are you going to Mexico? Work. Work? What do you do for a living? Why do you care what I do for a living? Well, they're Customs and Border Protection. They have to check to see whether or not you got proper credentials to work in that country. You know, stuff like that. I asked you a question. Answer me. I'm a writer, he says. Oh, yeah? What do you do for, who do you work for? Good Lord, I work freelance. Hands on the table, sir. Why do he keep taking his hands off the table?
Yeah.
Then he goes on. At this point, CBP Officer West runs both of his hands along my entire waist twice and literally rubber band snaps the waistline of my underwear onto my lower back as people walk by and gaze into the interrogation cage scene. Why are you so angry, bro? Me. Are you serious? I'm then ordered to show them my passport, which is, of course, in my wallet. I reach for it. Hands on the table, sir. Don't make me tell you again. You just told me to get my passport. Uh-huh. Go ahead and pull it out and give it to me. Then put your hands back on the table. So then, you know, maybe if he wasn't acting like such a poo-poo head to the CBP officer and was more cooperative, it would go better for him. You know, I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but, you know. Anyway, it goes on. He says, as he's bending up my passport card and running numbers into his little scanner, a young female officer says to me, if you just cooperate, this will be over. You need to... Wow, that's what I just said.
Yeah.
You need to familiarize yourself with the rules, sir. Familiarize myself? Why don't y'all tell me why I was stopped? Wes smiles. You know what? He says gleefully. Why don't you take off your shoes for me? Can I move my hands? Take off your shoes now. I quickly remove my shoes as Amy Winehouse's Back to Black album plays faintly out of the headphones still sitting on the table. After searching my shoes with a flashlight, West tossed them at my feet and said, I can move my hands again to put the shoes back on. I paused and looked him right in the face with my hands on my side. Can I help you with something? He asked. No, I replied, not a damn thing. You're free to go, chimes the other officer, as Wes continues staring at me with a look of sweet satisfaction all over his face. I slowly collected my belongings and put my shoes back on. Wes was still had my passport card. He then pulled out his cell phone and took a picture of it. Why did you take a picture of my passport? I asked as he handed it back. For my records, he says. Your records? Yep, my records. You got a problem with that? Just seems a little strange, that's all. You're free to go, you know. I took a deep breath and I walked away. Wow. Now he's on. They've got his picture.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Nate. Sounds like you're going to get put on that list. And it says, going on, as I was standing in line at the Mexican crossing, I simultaneously felt like crying and punching someone in the face. Violated. At which time I started thinking about the policing of people of color, and how what I just gone through was merely a taste of what people of color go through on the daily. Oh my God. Did he just turn into a black man?
Yep, he did.
I am like the black people. Which then transitioned into the thought of, if they can do this to me, a 6'1" white male with a passport, and make me feel these emotions I'm feeling, just imagine what they can and already do to people without documentation, asylum seekers, everyday Mexican commuters. However, this whole ordeal didn't feel one bit random. Very strange for 5 CBP agents to just be waiting to pounce right in that precise spot. Same spot where I've crossed for the last 10 weeks on the same day of the week, Friday, at the same time of the morning, 9:15 a.m. Maybe maybe I'm being pretentious for thinking that my recent appearances on KPBS. KPBS is the same place that, has been doing all of those puff pieces about Evan Duke and Lola Sinclair and Tucker.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. That same news agency that's been so favorably, Wendy Fry, so favorably writing about all of these Border Support Network activists. Is that what you mean, Nate? Because that's definitely interesting to Border Patrol, I would think. He said he knows why they stopped him. No te hagas pendejo. You know exactly why. And it says the overall enhancement of my written border coverage over the past few months would land me on some sort of watch list for journalists, which does in fact exist, CBP aided by both the U.S. and Mexican government. A certain Brooklyn Marie, upon hearing about this earlier today, most certainly thought nothing of the sort. I really don't think this beep was random, she said. Congratulations, I guess. Brooke's car has been sent to secondary every time she crossed in the last 2 years. What you don't know is that woman he's talking to is a black woman or a brown woman.
Oh.
And he's like, this person of color was like, oh, yeah, like that totally happens to me all of the time. So big whoop. So why is Nate so special?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, he finishes off his tweet thread by saying, what's truly terrifying here is that the best case scenario from a completely selfish point of view is that this whole incident was indeed completely random. But then think about that. Think about that quote. We don't need probable cause. We can stop and search anyone we want. They can, pendejo. It's the border. Then Nate says, whether it was random or completely calculated, I got theoretically swung at today. And they landed one. Hard. For no reason other than to mess with me. But they didn't knock me out, and they never will. As I said on KPBS, I'm just living my life. This is my home. San Diego, Tijuana. I found it interesting that this person named T-Bone replied saying, reminder, Obama helped build this nation's national security apparatus. There was virtually zero pushback from mainstream Democrats during Obama years on expanding border surveillance, growing border patrol, and mass data collection and mining. Yes, I agree. I said that at the beginning of our show.
Yep.
I don't know where all these no wall, no border people came from, but it's certainly strange. Many of them are Democratic socialists. The socialists. I call them extremists because they're connected to these anarchists, the Antifa people. I don't know what happened to this Medium article in the time that I there it is. There's a Medium article by Nate Abaurrea. The Fourth Amendment is dying. Again, with the Fourth Amendment, you see the media messaging, the similarities.
Mm-hmm.
The Fourth Amendment. These are people that are lay people. They're not lawyers. They haven't studied the law. They haven't got a clue what they're talking about, most of them. But yet, they're talking about the Fourth Amendment is dead. It's deader than dead. Forget about having any rights to be told that there is, that cops have to have probable cause to search you. People just search you anytime. No, it's because it's Customs and Border and you're crossing into another country. That's what happens. But Nate is pretty special because guess who retweeted him? It was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. In this op-ed about the erosion of our civil liberties in America, Who's chiming in? AOC comes in to the rescue. So you know that these Justice Democrats, these folks that were funded by Mark Lane's employer at TYT, are weighing in. Of course they would. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweets, ever since the Bush administration Patriot Act and the creation of the Department of Homeland Security, the dangerous erosion of American civil liberties has worsened. We're melting away our constitutional rights, all for the excuse of hating immigrants. We're shredding what it means to be American. And then she retweets Nate Abaurrea's Twitter thread. Why on earth is AOC weighing in on this? And look, he thanks her. He's like, thanks, AOC, again for the support. These folks are connected to politicians. Many of them Democratic Socialists, as I told you. And look, he's talking directly to her when he says, thanks, AOC, again. Thank you for the continued love and support. Remember why I and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez shared the story regarding Border Patrol in the first place. It is to help prevent it from happening to others. And remember that people of color deal with this stuff every damn day. Here's to being better. Saludos a todos. Here are some pics from Nick's Twitter that he posted recently. I guess he's getting a lot of attention since AOC retweeted him.
I suppose.
So he's putting out more stuff about his story and his life and his background. This is his partner. Here's another picture of him drinking coffee, it looks like, or some type of beverage, and wearing a shirt that says the White Flame. He's, got some goofy scarf on, and he's standing in front of both the Mexican and American flags.
Mm-hmm.
In this picture, he's being interviewed by someone, what looks like inside of a bar in some kind of establishment.
In front of the
possibly a
front of the
sports bar.
dartboard. Yeah, in front of the dartboard.
Here's a picture of him with shirtless, with drinks in his hand, and with a woman that is not his partner, but they're both drinking apparently. But Nate Abaurrea is a sportscaster. What he told CBP about how he's a freelance writer is partially true. It's not what he makes his money at, though. He's a sports announcer, primarily from what I can find on social media. And here is how he uses his sporting background as a vehicle. He tells you right here himself in this post. He's always been about using his sporting background as a vehicle for the framework of social justice. It's something that he wants to do for the rest of his life, and he stands in solidarity with those who face oppression in the world, and he wants to use every conceivable ounce of his various sets of privilege to help people. Yes, these well-meaning white people on the left that consider themselves social justice warriors tell you, and they talk in this certain way. I'm going to put my white body on the line to protect the water protectors, to protect the caravan migrants, blah, blah, blah. Never mind that they are committing lateral oppression against Mexico and Mexicans and people like Oscar while they're doing it, or Anthony while they're doing it. That doesn't matter. They're doing the right thing for their good people. He also posted about his, hobbies, and one of them is writing poetry, like Juan Mancias. This is one of his poems called Truck Stops and Patios by Nate Abaurrea. I'm going to read it for you. See what you think of his poetry writing skills, Duke.
Let me try it.
Okay, you want to try it? Okay.
When the dawn is cracking like a farm fresh egg, and the brain is drained like a frat house keg. When the yawns and the buzz fight for attention, and the overhang of today is yesterday's mention. When the blur is vivid and the air is coldest, the soul keeps you warm, 'cause you never bleepin' sold it. Truck Stops and Patios by Nate Abaurrea.
Like a frat house keg.
Yeah, that's right.
I knew he looked like a douche, bro. But guess who else made sure to repost on Facebook about the trials and tribulations of Nate Abaurrea? Why, none other than Sofia Marie de Loreto Chudy, who worked for Congresswoman Nanette Barragan, who called on Jeff Merkley and other members of Congress to get involved. Maybe one of the connections for Nate is Sophia Marie and all of the people connected to the politicians in office. But you know what? For all your congressional investigations, the investigation continues. I'm sharing with you an article titled "Another Deadline as Quests for Information Continues" by Congress members. Targets of secret government surveillance efforts confront its consequences. Oh, the trials and tribulations.
That's right.
Of these well-meaning white progressives. When will they end? They're being persecuted, damn it.
That's right. It's horrible, isn't it?
Isn't it horrible? Lawmakers have renewed their requests for federal immigration officials to answer some damn questions about controversial border surveillance programs. Meanwhile, journalists, attorneys, and others who are the targets of these programs say they've been negatively affected in their professions. Oh no, why don't you sue the government then?
Yeah.
The fourth deadline. So this is the fourth deadline of requests made by different lawyers, entities, Congress members, etc. Fourth deadline has come and gone for the Department of Homeland Security to provide detailed information about a secret surveillance program tied to the Central American caravans that traveled the U.S.-Mexico border. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection has provided limited information about the extent of the surveillance effort, and journalists, attorneys, and other private citizens on the government's target list are still dealing with the adverse consequences of having alerts placed on their passports and, in some cases, le gasp, being denied entry into Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
Earlier this month, U.S. Senators Kamala Harris, Richard Blumenthal, Tom Udall, Elizabeth Warren sent a letter to DHS Acting Secretary Kevin McAleenan requesting detailed information about the database by May 24th. We want it! NBC7 asked for those offices in DHS had responded by the deadline, but have not heard back. And, of course, we know Jeff Merkley also asked. We know Grassley also asked. And we know that Nicole Ramos of Al Otro Lado and her defendants. No, wait, that hasn't happened yet. The people that are also practicing law without a license in Mexico and those that volunteer for Al Otro Lado are part of this database, are on that list. And Nora Phillips gave an interview to San Diego 7, which has also been doing a lot of puff pieces for these lawyers. I found it interesting how she talked about what has happened to her and how this is affecting her and all of the humanitarian work she could be doing in Mexico. I'm sure people like Oscar, if you asked, would be more than happy to tell you, thank you, don't let her in. Don't let her and Nicole Ramos in. Please stop these people from coming here anymore.
Exactly.
A lot of Mexicans would tell you that. But here's the clip of the interview with Nora Phillips of Al Otro Lado on how this has affected her.
I run the programs in Los Angeles County Hospital and our office in Maywood, where we provide a wide variety of services, but I also run the deportee program with a particular focus of people who've been deported out of prison, because it's an incredibly vulnerable population that's basically like spit through this turnstile in TJ, and they're terrified, they need all kinds of social services, mental health support, legal services as well, and so those programs are basically dead right now because I can't go. And, having a staff meeting through a border fence because you need to see your staff in person is pretty absurd.
Have you asked, now that you know that you're on this list, have you gone back to whoever it may be and asked, hey, what's your response to this? Or have you asked questions?
The problem is you can't ask the questions because they're denying they placed it. So, like in congressional testimony, I think it was the head of DHS that responded to a congresswoman who asked about the alerts. And they just said, we have no idea. We don't do that. So you're in this, it feels like a very sort of Kafka-esque situation because the thing that that you have, that a foreign government tells you affirmatively that you have, they interrogate you, they make you feel like a terrible person, and then they deport you. But then the government here is denying that they placed it. Like, what other country would it be?
Have you tried to cross over the border since that?
No.
So you're not sure if at this point it's
I've
been
been
lifted or not?
Yeah, there's no way of knowing because the people that placed it deny they placed it. So we're trying to, I'm not going back unless I have a visa. I can't be detained again. I have a really serious medical condition, and that was just I can never go through that again. And the list was actually really validating because when I got detained, both governments, Mexico and the United States, denied that they had done anything, that they'd placed it. Mexico was like, we don't know what this is, and then the U.S. officials said, we don't do that. We didn't place alerts on these people. So then when your list came out, we just felt so validated, and we had proof of what we knew for a long time based on there's just been this escalating amount of harassment of our volunteers. We had a group of volunteers that was almost arrested just for telling people to wear warm clothes at the as they're underlayer to try to before they cross over. People getting pulled into secondary just for no reason.
Are you a threat to the U.S. government?
No. My God, no.
Are you a threat to the U.S. government? Oh, no.
Oh, God, no. They're just on to you. Come on. Oh, they've been doing this for a long time because they're on to you. You're doing some stuff that's shady, and they're checking you out, I've been across borders many times. Well, Mexican border only once on foot. Canadian border, I've been detained 4 or 5 hours before. My goal is I'm going to get in and go through all my stuff. I have nothing to fear, and I've had all my stuff taken out and thrown on benches, and I had to repack. And one time I had some sparklers, and that was illegal in Canada to bring in fireworks, so they confiscated them and told me I could pick them up when I got back to the States.
Yeah, it happens all the time. And for members of Congress like AOC to jump into this, it's very, very interesting. I'd seen the use of these Justice Democrats that have been largely funded by Cenk Uygur, who also employs Mark Lane as a content producer, that has been running all of these positive pieces for people involved in the San Diego Rapid Response Network, for people involved in this human smuggling ring that includes people that have kidnapped children, given drugs to the migrants out of this border support network. I've shown you the evidence of the fake marriages, the fraudulent documents, the lies that have been told by these lawyers groups and by some of the people that are on this watch list. And yet we have members of Congress now, to include AOC, willing to throw their name into the frame and defend these folks and demand information. And you know what the government is going to keep telling them? No. Because we're still investigating. So you know what you can have? Here's your information. Pick it up. So I don't think that we're going to hear anything from what's in this investigation or how deep this investigation goes until this investigation is completed. And the only thing we're actually going to hear is a lot more white progressive tears. Mm-hmm. A lot of them. There's going to be lots of tears, lots of whining, lots of crying as people involved with the, criming of the smuggling operation get arrested, get indicted, and get put in jail. And I will be bringing you more of the people that might be facing some of that jail time on my next show here on A Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp
and Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You've been listening to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP, Fargo, Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Thank you for being here, and good night.